Well, first of all, I'm thrilled to see how many people are interested in the pursuit of this master's degree and in learning more about it from the inner MBA perspective. And for those of you who have not met, I'm Danny Davis, and I'm the director of the Inner MBA program for Sounds True. And so, some of us, we've all been on live events at some point or another together and intersected. But to give you some background, this is something that we at Sounds True have been working to pursue with the Inner MBA since we began the program a few years ago. It was very important to Tammy and to the team to ensure that if any of our participants felt that they wanted to pursue an advanced degree, that we could somehow facilitate that. We believe, as you all do so very much in our learning and in our beautiful faculty within the Inner MBA and in all of you and your work out in the world, that we thought, wow, this could just be a gorgeous thing if we can somehow make a master's degree happen. To that end, we have spent the last couple of years identifying learning objectives with regard to the Inner MBA program, even thinking about learning outcomes on a module by module and trimester by trimester basis, measuring whatever data we can measure in order to put a presentation and a proposal together for a university that would then compel that university to understand the depth of the work that you do within the Inner MBA program. And that work combined with the work of the university would make the master's degree happen. That this is really sort of the half of that process, or more than half of that process. Ubiquity University, Peter and Georgie and everyone there and Raji, everyone's been so wonderful in working with us to help us sort of codify the offerings of the Inner MBA in order to move the work you do into realization of a master's degree with Ubiquity. So this has been a partnership that's been a long time in the making, actually, and something we've been working very hard on behind the scenes. And, it's just a thrill that we get to all come together and talk about this opportunity. I'm so excited about it. And so I'd love to turn this over to Peter and Georgie. And then if there are any questions that I can answer as we move through this session, please, I'm right here. And, but I would love for all of you to hear from Peter and Georgie about the process upon completion of the Inner MBA. So if you're an Inner MBA alum, you are eligible to continue now on this master's trajectory. And if you are a current Inner MBA participant, sort of upon completion of our Module 9, which is coming up this May, you can continue forward with your degree. So there you go. I'll turn it over to you.
Great, thanks, Danny, and thanks first for the great collaboration and partnership that it takes two to tango, as it were. So really appreciative of how you and the team have responded and put things together. So my name is Peter Merry. I'm one of the co-founders at Ubiquity and the current managing director. Also, actually, an alumni from Ubiquity. That's where I got my PhD. And just before I introduce the team, just to say a few words about why we're doing this really at Ubiquity, so that you have a sense of the values alignment, I think, between Ubiquity and Sounds True. So, we established Ubiquity really to try to provide a form of higher education that we felt was really going to equip people for the world that was coming. We see in a lot of the traditional higher education institutions a kind of are doing things the way they've always done them, which have rapidly got outdated. And particularly given the speed of change and the complexity of the challenges that are coming at us, we felt we needed to update the higher education offer as it were. And what you notice in these times of disruption and non-linear change is that the old systems kind of contract and you get loads of innovation around the fringes. And the most innovative education and learning at the moment is not happening in the higher education institutions. It's happening in organizations like Sounds True, who are developing these programs because they meet a real need in the world and who understand not just the importance of sustainability and regeneration and the planet, but also the importance of us doing our own inner development to be able to make the kind of contribution that we need to make at this time. And that side of it in particular has been very challenging for the kind of old school higher education institutions, is to recognize the value of personal development and see that also as a part of an academic world. Like, why not? You know, there's this illusion that everything that you can do everything scientifically or objectively. Well, I think we all realize that, you know, the subjective perspective means that nothing can ever be completely objective. So at Ubiquity, we actually require in the thesis and dissertation people to be explicit about their subjective experience of their research, as well, of course, as backing it up thoroughly, you know, with the literature reviews and all the things that show that, you know, you've done your work to demonstrate your thesis. So it's really great to find, you know, a partner like Sounds True who's doing work that's really relevant, and for us then to be able to acknowledge the work that people have done and enable them to take a step deeper through the thesis and dissertation work and actually get an academic degree for the work that's so important at the moment. So that's kind of our mission, really, and why we're so happy with this partnership. We've got 3 others on the from the Ubiquity team on at the moment. Dr. Georgie Sabo, who's our Dean of Graduate Students. We have Raji Jayasinghe, who runs our Partnerships Program, and we have Nora Salini, who's our Director of Admissions. So we should have most of the bases covered for any questions that you have. So maybe we just do a quick round, and Georgie, Raji, Nora, you can just introduce yourselves, and then I think we just open it up and see what questions you have about the program. Georgie, you want to go first?
Yeah. Thanks, Peter. Yes, my name is Georgie, Dean of Graduate Studies. I have been with Ubiquity for over 8 years, so I know the school inside out. And I'm going to be the head teacher for the Creative Journey to Dissertation course, which you will all take. And I will promise you that you will have a fantastic time with me. And there will be another teacher for Transformational Art. And I will tell you more details about it later on if there are questions about that course. Maybe add a little bit more about the uniqueness of Ubiquity is what Peter referred to, that the expression of the subjective, that is definitely a very unique aspect of Ubiquity University, because there are not many universities where you can express the self becoming. And we really welcome that expression. Clearly, it has to be a 50-50 balance in the dissertation, rather the thesis. But we will talk more about that later on. So wonderful to see you and meet you, and look forward to our continued path together. So who shall I? To Nora in Australia. Over to you.
Hi, good morning or good day to everyone. Lovely to see you. You can probably hear me, right? Yeah, I think so. Super good. It's really cool to meet you, and I really hope that I'm going to get to know you a little bit better. So as Peter was saying, I'm Director of Admissions and Enrollment. Normally, I am one of the first point of reference for new students, and I will help you just get all the documents ready so that you can then be admitted in, and I can answer any questions usually about the admissions and enrollment process, but also about the university. So, and I think Peter and Georgie have already said quite a lot, and there's going to be quite a lot of info here, so I'm not going to add too much right now. But I'll pass on to Raji.
Thanks, Nora. Hi, everyone. My name's Raji. It's lovely to be here and to see so many people in the room. I am the Director of Partnerships for Ubiquity. So I guess I've been working with Danny and her team in the background to get us to this point that we're at today. In a sense, it's my handover, but not really. I'm here if anyone has questions and if I can help in any way, but I'm very happy to have all of us here and see this, get on its 2 feet. Over to you, Peter.
Great, thanks, Reggie. Maybe just before asking if anybody has questions and going into the discussion, just to clarify, at the beginning, when we were discussing this, we were talking about it becoming a master's, of course, because it's the inner MBA, it's got a master's reference. But we also then realized that if people already have a master's degree, then you will also have done enough hours to be able to move straight into a PhD program. So that's also an option. If you've seen the landing page, there are kind of 3 options. One is the straight MA, one is the straight PhD, and one is actually a combination of an MA and PhD program, if that's something you'd be interested in as well. So why don't we hand it over to you, see what questions anybody has.
I think Cynthia has a question.
Sure, Cynthia.
Yes, thank you. My question is regarding admissions. I am Mexican and I have a Mexican title. I'm a chemical engineer. So my first question would be, how do I enter the university? What would I have to do to make my documents valid to get into the university and then from there obtain the degree, please?
I think I can just answer this directly. Thank you so much, Cynthia. So the fact that you have graduated in Mexico is not a problem at all. We have students from all over the world, literally. So what I would need, depending on whether you would be applying for the master's or the PhD, I normally need a copy of your undergraduate degree. And it can be actually in Spanish, because I do speak Spanish, so I would be able to understand and attest it. And then we would need the certificate of the completion of the inner MBA and your CV. That's what we need.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
So your diploma or a copy of your transcript. Transcript is usually something that more Anglo-Saxon or American universities offer. Some other universities don't really talk about transcripts, so diploma is also okay. And you just send that to us and I can review them, and then if everything is okay, we can accept you. It's very simple.
Thank you.
Just to make a more philosophical point on this, it's insane that say a doctor who's fully qualified in India, who's got a PhD at an Indian university, comes to the US or something and has to start all over again. The credential doesn't get recognized. So our position is, if you've been awarded a degree in whatever country, as long as it's obviously a proper program, then we recognize it. I mean, why not? It's a bit crazy in the globalized world that education hasn't really got beyond national boundaries. So anyway, end of political broadcast. Sagar?
Okay, I have a few questions. I don't have any degrees from university, to be honest, but I have worked teaching for 23 years. I teach in businesses. I have written 7 books, but I don't know if that qualifies at all. I was just going to apply, but now I'm kind of puzzled about it, because what I can tell from the webpage is not that much. So that's my first question. But also, could you talk a little bit about the process? So if you do get qualified, what is the process and how time assuming will it be? How many assignments is it that people has to do? That would be great to hear a little bit more in depth about the different process.
Should I answer the first part of the question?
Yeah, do that, Nora. Then we can Georgie can take the second piece.
Exactly. So I will answer the part about admissions and enrollment. So at Ubiquity, we highly value people's work and life experience, because that's sometimes has been even more valuable than university experiences. So no problem about that. If you don't have an undergraduate degree, what I would need, and that then becomes an individual assessment that I have to go through. I would need to see some sort of BA equivalency documents from your side. That means normally certificates of courses that you might have been taking that are not university courses. Can be university, that's very easy then to transfer, or other courses. I would then need quite a bit of information about those courses. If you have a certificate, how many hours have you spent in these courses, and a little bit of a description and so on. Then often there's also an interview to just kind of go a bit through what your work and life experience has been. Have you worked in a specific field for a number of years, or what's been your experience, your biography? Then often we ask for an essay to be written where you explain why do you think that you have the experience of a BA or the bachelor's degree equivalence. A letter of recommendation from an employer is also helpful. It really depends, and you don't have to hand in all these documents. We would need to talk through everything first, but these are some of the examples. Also, some people, if you have a writing sample, something, maybe you have been part of a academic project, even if you haven't gone through university, that's really helpful for us, because also it's going to show us that you are able to do academic research and write as well academically, and that's also going to be helpful for you to know before you embark into writing a dissertation. That's about it. So you would just contact me directly, and then we would talk about it. I will then pass it on to Georgie to answer the second question.
Just to clarify, Saga, you would be interested that what it is required from Ubiquity University's point of view, right? That's correct.
Yeah, Nora answered that. I think that's great. But I just asked about if you are accepted, what does the process look like?
Okay.
How is the whole thing going to unfold? Hours, assignments, partnership, whatever. I mean, how does it look behind the scene?
Okay. So, but I thought that there was a second question which you wanted me to answer.
Yeah, Georgie, speak a little bit about, the course. She's asking what happens once you get accepted. So then they obviously go into the creative journey course.
Sure. Okay.
The dissertation process, and how does that work a little bit?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, first I'd like to make a bit of a clarity about, because sometimes we do use the word thesis and dissertation. Dissertation is usually for PhDs and thesis for MAs, but we know globally people understand dissertation is one thing, but in a very orthodox way, which we're not quite, but in a small way we do use for the end result of a master's degree is really expressed in a thesis. So I'm going to discuss that before actually you get there and how to get there. We talk about every single detail at the Creative Journey to Dissertation course. Now that is a 5-day online course, so Monday to Friday for 3 hours. I'm not going to talk about the timing because that is yet to be discussed. I think there is already a set time, but I will leave it to Raji, Peter, and Danny and Jenny. So I would like to just share a few points of view about this very particular course, because there's so many people feel kind of like it's a daunting feeling about writing and researching for a thesis. And I try to really shed light on why it can be really a joyful exercise, and it is indeed, because you're bringing up something from within that you have been wanting to express for a very long time, and we just put it in academic terms. Now I'm going to tell you and talk to you about and discuss in greater detail at what is academic writing, put together a 10 points of how to write academically, what is a philosophical paper. So we're also going to touch points about that. What are the joys, the blocks, the delights, the challenges you may face. And then, to be honest, 99% of graduate students, they all experience the same thing. Of course, there are various degrees of like differences, but we all going through quite a lot of similarities. So we will discuss it. We're going to discuss also that how to have a framework, a structure of your thesis, how to research, what are the best times of the day to research, how to find the best place in your house to actually write, what is the best relationship between the major advisor and yourself, how to find the best advisor, because you're going to work with this person and it is a very important relationship. It is not just an academic relationship, it is much, much more than that. So for the first 1.5 hours, you will be with me. Then we will have half an hour break. And after that, you will be with another teacher for transformational art segment, because we do believe that creativity, imagination are really important parts of writing, not just academic writing, creative writing, and really bring all aspects to the yourself into that expression in your thesis. So I really want to emphasize that in order to get the full credits for this particular course, you really need to attend Monday to Friday. We're not recording this course, so we really treat this course almost as an in-person course, but it is online. Because after the second day, as of Wednesday, it becomes interactive. But we're going to do that every one of you will have around like 10 to 15 minutes to talk about a possible interest field or topic that you would like to research or you would like to write your thesis on. And why is that important? Because many times we think at a certain stage of our lives that I'm so interested in this topic, I really want to research it, but there goes another year and another year, and actually so much changes. We know everything changes in our lives, even if you don't notice it on a day-to-day basis. But as you speak about it publicly, then the audience hears something different that you think you actually voice, and that is the feedback you're going to get from our little group, and that is most of the time a fantastic aha moment to most people, that I didn't know I really wanted to discuss that and really research it, that I'm going to change direction towards my research. So that's why, because of this interactivity, because of all the theory of writing a thesis is so important, you really need to be there Monday to Friday. So whenever we have the set day and time, if you cannot make for whatever reason, then you may as well take the other one, because you really cannot miss a day. You're going to lose a lot, actually. So it's going to be your loss. So much more to discuss, really, but I look forward to share my wisdom and knowledge with you. As I mentioned, I've been in this position for 8 years, and up till now, Ubiquity University awarded over 300 awards. And fantastic becomings, really, and I look forward to read yours one day, hopefully soon.
Georgie, maybe a little bit about, maybe people thinking, how long is it going to take me to write a dissertation or to work on it? And I know that's like, how long is a piece of string, but maybe some thoughts on that.
Yes, thank you. It's a great question, and we get asked this question so often. It is very subjective. It's totally up to you. Some people write it in a few months. For some people, it takes much longer time. It really is as I say so many times, it is the path itself. It's not a marathon, It's not like how fast you're going to finish it. It's really a quality about it. We're going to talk about this more in detail at the course, and also the length of the dissertation. I'm in the thesis. I'm kind of like mixing these words myself. It should be around 50 to 60 pages. So it's not really a huge amount, but really is about the quality of the writing. So many times I experience that when students taking the course, it takes time to to have the content of the course to percolate in their consciousness. And sometimes that is taking much longer time than in fact the writing. We also talk about what is procrastination, because we all procrastinate. I do it so often, even when before I want to clean my house. But it really applies to so many other areas of our lives, and especially about writing, because we're so afraid of putting something on paper, be that a computer or like a physical paper, that it's not perfect. No artist, no creator ever created, maybe the super consciousness was the only that created something perfect, but apart from that, humans not. So it really is a constant iteration, and then trying and doing and polishing. And so we will address that as well in greater detail at the course. So how long does it take? It's totally up to you. But as I said to you, like around 50, 60 pages. So it may not take years. I don't think it would anyway.
And the maximum is like 7 years, I think, isn't it, Georgie?
Well, on paper, 7 years, but as Nora heard it so many times, I always say to people that try to finish your thesis or dissertation in this lifetime, because if you don't, you're going to have to do it in next. Okay, so from my point of view, you have it as long as you want, because we are human. We know that so many things can happen in your life, be that any family responsibility or work or anything that may slow you down. We totally understand it. So just let us know that what's going on in your life. So we don't think that you left, you don't want to finish. But anytime you have any problem during your research, your first point of contact is always your major advisor, but you can always reach out to me or Nora or Peter or Raji. We are there for you, just to brainstorm, just to listen and share our points of view as well. We are there for you. That's what I just wanted to say, that you are never alone.
Great. Thanks, Georgie. Sagar, has that answered your questions for now? Yeah, great. Thank you. Karen, is it?
That's it. Yep. Hi. Happy to be here. Thank you for all the information so far. I have a couple of questions. One, is there a minimum number of students that you will need to be enrolled in this program to have it actually happen? I know that with Sunstrue, they offered some other things that as an extension of this that didn't quite follow through. You're probably aware of that too. And then my second question is, what does the program help support publishing a dissertation, or where that would go, or what type of resources that might be featured in? Just curious. I think I asked that correctly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Karen. There's no minimum number in terms of enrolling in a master's or a PhD. There's no problem with that. For the Creative Journey to Dissertation course, we aim for 15 people in that course. So if there were only 5, then we might have to put that course off or combine it with some others, for example. But that doesn't stop you, enrolling in the master's or PhD program. Just means that you would end up doing the Creative Journey course a bit later. Ideally, we have 15 from Sounds True, because you've all been through the inner MBA together. And so you'd have that shared context. If that doesn't work out and there's a smaller number, then we'll find a way to make it happen with some others. So that's not a problem. Remind me of the second.
About publishing dissertations.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What kind of?
So we have a couple of journals that we that we have a relationship with, who really like to receive papers and theses and things from Ubiquity students. We also have our own publishing platform. So we have the Ubiverse, which is, I think of it as like a kind of Facebook for change makers. There's about 20,000 people on it and 1,900 organizations, and they're all concerned to make a positive difference in the world, and understand the importance of personal development as part of that. And we have a profile on academia.edu, which you might know, which is a big kind of platform for papers and things. So, we encourage people to do that. We are also currently developing a relationship with a publisher who could take a dissertation and turn it into a book form. And one of the things we have in the pipeline is to think about, okay, how about a podcast series with our graduates, you know, because people write these amazing dissertations, and they really are. I mean, we have maybe I'll put a link in the chat later. We have a group on the Ubiverse which we started to populate with some of these, you know, 350 dissertations that we've received, and they're incredible. But the question is how you get them back out into the world, right? Because very few people maybe are going to read a 200-page PhD dissertation. So, you know, the idea of a podcast, the idea of helping people put together a presentation, maybe do a talk on Humanity Rising, which is a broadcast we do at Ubiquity that goes to, you know, tens of thousands of people every evening. So those kind of things are something that we've really started looking at this year, is how to close the loop, as it were, so that the wisdom and insight that people generate through their research actually gets back into the world.
Peter, if I might interrupt for a moment, also, Karen, within the Sounds True world, what our work wants to be with the Inner MBA is for those of you who do elect to pursue the master's and or the PhD, that we would then be able to amplify your work on the side of it.
Excellent.
You know, so that's something that we would be doing within the Inner MBA as well. And you know, that just really matters to us in terms of closing the loop, whether we do an event where you actually are able to present your dissertation and we interview you, a podcast series to what Peter's been talking about. So yeah, we're excited to be able.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I'm such a fan of the Inner MBA and this work and helping bring consciousness and humanity into kind of a very normalized part of business practice. And so I just, you know, I think when I first found the Inner MBA, I'll just show this because when I first found the Inner MBA, I was like the graduate program I'd always been dreaming of, right? Like I was a business undergrad, worked in corporate, did all the things. And I was just like, wait, this is like what I imagine in my brain existing. And of course, Tammy Simon is a brilliant human that puts that imagination into action. And so I'm just thrilled that this even exists and that it's an option. So I want to thank everyone for bringing that forward. And I'm looking forward to applying to the program, and really, really exciting. So thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks, Karen. Great to hear. That's great to hear, Danny. Maybe we could kind of coordinate things.
That would be wonderful. Wonderful.
And that's the great thing, you know, about people going out there and actually spending that time to think deeply about something related to, say, the Inner MBA program, and to actually produce something, you know, means it gets that whole field more activated in the world. And that's what we need, right? We need these insights out there and people kind of thinking more deeply about all of this. So that's great.
Peter, before we go to Mary, there are a couple of questions in the chat, which maybe you could touch upon: the MA, PhD combined, and what is Charter Academy, and any other courses required besides the Creative Journey course.
Well, Mindy says, please answer those with their hands up first. So I'm going to honor that request and go to Mary first, and then we'll come back to Mindy.
Okay, great. And yeah, I'm curious about those questions as well. So I'll be happy to hear those. My questions are, since I completed the Inner MBA, when I went into the Inner MBA, I had a specific goal in mind. I'm in healthcare. I'm a licensed occupational therapist, and I was in management with a big hospital and wanted to bring more consciousness into that setting, which is kind of an oxymoron, given that healthcare is supposed to be healing people, but management is our business people. So anyway, long story short, I'm no longer in that position and actually lost my job when I started the Inner MBA, which is fine because it actually gave me lots of time to go through it. What I'm getting to, the question that I'm getting to is relative to the thesis topic. Does it have to be linked with what we learned in the Inner MBA, which was a lot of things on the microcosm in terms of mindfulness practices and things like that. I'm also a certified yoga therapist, so I have a dual life, but also the science of mindfulness, and then how you put it into it was like a macrocosm also. So I loved how it covered the microcosm as well as the macrocosm and how you bring those things together. With a thesis topic, does it have to be related to that information that we gained from the inner MBA and then how it might be applied in that context? That's the first question.
I'd say, not directly, but it does have to build on the themes from the inner MBA, because what we're doing at Ubiquity is we're saying we recognize the learning experience that you've had through inner MBA, and you're kind of porting those credits basically into your master's program.
Yeah,
so it has to be related to it in somehow. And the master's is in a transformative business leadership. That's the kind of master's, an MA in transformative business leadership. So it couldn't be an MA just on, I don't know, on the newest yoga practices or something, which might be a really interesting one to do. But everything you've learned within the inner MBA wouldn't have kind of contributed to that, as it were.
Right.
I mean,
Okay.
if you were interested in doing an MA in a completely different subject, of course, you could go into the Ubiquity MA in wisdom studies, and then you kind of find your own topic, as it were, in that. But if you wanted to build on the inner MBA program, it would have to have some, it'd have to have some relationship to it and be in this field of transformative business leadership.
Okay.
I mean, Danny, would you like to add something? Yeah, you're muted at the moment. Oh, well, you're still muted.
Are you currently in the inner MBA program, or did you complete it already?
No, I completed. I was the first group.
You were the first group. So you did not do what we have in place now, which is in the trimester 3, we have what's called the personal plan of action. And actually, believe it or not, that can serve as even a little bit of scaffolding and brainstorming around a dissertation. I can even send you that piece so you can have a look at it and see how we approach it and see if that compels you, to be able to synthesize something around.
That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be great.
Absolutely. Do you mind putting your email in the chat so I can have it directly? And then brilliant. All right. Thank you so much.
And then my second question was support for, there are 2 questions. Advisors that we choose are through Ubiquity University. Is that correct?
They can be, but not necessarily. You can choose as long as if you're doing a master's degree, your major advisor has to have a master's degree. Okay. If it's a PhD you're doing, then your major advisor has to have a PhD. But you can find them from anywhere as long as they have that qualification and obviously a relationship to the theme you want to do your thesis in. What we've done just to help people is, should you not be able to think of anyone, as you'll see on the landing page, there's a link through to a list of potential advisors that we recommend at Ubiquity, but you don't have to choose one of those, no.
Okay, and then the last one is support for writing. I've written books and chapters, but don't love it. It's funny because, again, I'll be honest, I've done it, but writing is not my strength. Do you have support for those of us that would be working on our thesis in terms of the written part?
We do. And I was just, Raji, make a note of this. I was just looking at the landing page because I think this was something we developed after we created the Sounds True landing page. We have, I think we added a whole section on support for writing, which I notice is not on the, as far as I can see, is not on the Sounds True landing page. So yes, what we've done, we have a couple of things, but we'll add it to the landing page the next couple of days. Is we've done a search through the MOOCs, the kind of Coursera and basically a lot of these free online courses that different universities offer for the best academic writing courses. We've picked 5 that we recommend, basically, that we'd say, if you want to learn more about academic writing or how to write a thesis, these courses are ones we'd recommend. And then we also have a writing mentorship. So if anybody would like, if you're feeling a bit unsure, you could write a chapter and buy a session with a writing mentor, and then they would spend time with you going through the piece that you'd written, and they would give you feedback. And actually, in that one-on-one process, you only, for 1 or 2 sessions, you learn a huge amount, rather than just going through a generic course, although both might be useful. So yeah, the major advisor's job is primarily to help you out on the content side. And then you'll obviously, during the creative journey course, learn something about the academic writing approach. But if you want more support, we do have more support resources. Yeah.
Thank you.
Shall we move to the chat? Let me just scroll back up here.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
you're actually doing that. I'd like to add something that at the Creative Journey course, you actually learn quite a lot about writing. So quite a lot about clearly the technicalities is one thing, but clearly you need to practice everything to get to be a master of it, right? But you will get from us all the most elements, really, how to write a philosophical paper or a thesis, really. And it's not just about, I try to touch upon really the 360 degrees of this whole writing process, this creative journey, because it is a creative journey. What I mean by that there is so much of the spiritual side of it as well, and the personal, the individual, that how you approach your writing, how you structure your day to actually do journaling or notes or reading, and how you accumulate the knowledge and how you sift through the knowledge as well. So some of these are actually the technicalities, but there are clearly the mental elements of it that you will experience, that most of us actually experience. And I touched upon the procrastination, which is actually one part, but really that how you find the best time of the day, the best place in the house that I mentioned to you for your writing, because for a short time, your life is going to change because maybe writing will become your top priority, not forever, but for now. So you need to restructure your life, and that is going to affect your personal relationship with your spouse, with the relationship with your work or everything else. So these are the elements as well that most universities do not teach, and they are really important elements. So that's why I said that you're going to learn a lot about writing, and these are the 360 degrees of writing, not just that, how to structure an argument and how to, refute an argument and how to write a statement and how to do footnotes and definition and terminologies and quotations, because these are the easiest thing to learn. But anyway, over to you, Peter.
Sorry, it was you couldn't hear me then, could you? Yeah. So just on the MA PhD question from Mindy, there is the possibility to do a combined MA PhD degree. When you do that, you only write one dissertation. So you write the PhD dissertation. You don't have to do a master's thesis and a PhD dissertation. You complete the creative journey course, of course. And like the PhD, you complete the Chartres Academy and the great books. I'll come back to Chartres in a minute. And then there is a number of elective courses that you have as well for up to 8 credits. So like in the US system, a classical, 14 module or week course, which we call a macro course, is worth 3 credits. And then we have a micro courses that take, about 4 weeks, or are 4 modules, and they're worth 1 credit. So you could imagine it being 2 macro courses and 2 micro courses. That would give you the 8 credits. So that's the MA PhD is you do the PhD dissertation, do the creative journey and the 2 core courses for the PhD, plus 8 credits worth of other elective courses. That can be from the Ubiquity collection, but that can be from elsewhere. This is, for the Ubiquity programs, you can take courses from other course providers, and then you import them for credit as what we call independent learning. and we just have to review the number of contact hours and how many credits that would be in advance, and then you can import those. So that's is that clear, Mindy?
May I add something to it? Yeah. So just to clarify that for the MA, for the combined MA PhD, first you start with the MA section. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to take the from the PhD section this course, and then later on from the MA, because clearly you need to finish the MA growth period, and then you enter the PhD phase. And of course, clearly there are financial aspects to it as well.
So so you take the kind of courses that you need to for the MA first, and then you kind of go on to the PhD piece, which includes the couple of core courses and the dissertation.
And also your end diploma. So your final diploma is not going to say a master's in MBA and a PhD. It will be a combined master's and PhD. Because if you want to have a separate MA diploma and a separate PhD diploma, then you're going to have to write an MA thesis followed by a PhD dissertation. Then you have to separate. So actually, the one of the advantage of this combined program is that you write only one dissertation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The Chartres, you asked Mindy about Chartres as well. Georgie, do you want to talk about Chartres? No, you're going to ask me. I thought it's probably one of your passions, isn't it? So Chartres. So for how many years now? Well, let's go back. So Chartres was the place in Europe where all the Druids used to come across from Europe to gather on the mound. There was a mound, and there was a grove of trees on this mound, which is where all the Druids came from across Europe to meet. And when Christianity moved in, they looked for all these sacred sites, and that's where they built this cathedral. And so it's got an amazing energy. And about now 1,010 years ago or so, or 20 years ago, what they called the Chartrian masters used to teach the liberal arts at Chartres. So, Geometrica, Mathematica, Astronomica, the 7 liberal arts. And about, I don't know how many years ago it was, Georgie, 12, 15 years ago or so, Ubiquity, just through a bunch of synchronicities, decided we would start teaching the liberal arts again at Chartres. So every summer there is an in-person program at Chartres, teaching in the same rooms that the Chartrian masters taught in 1,000 years ago, right next to Chartres Cathedral, on one of the 7 liberal arts. So we go through the 7 liberal arts. This year, for example, it's Musica, Waves of Love is the title. And it's a week-long program. It involves kind of talks and discussion in the morning, and then more experiential activities in the afternoon. That includes visits to different parts of the cathedral. So the lower church, where the Black Madonna is based. We get the whole cathedral to ourselves one evening to walk the labyrinth. So imagine a candlelit walk of the labyrinth with medieval music. It's a pretty awesome experience to go there in person. Now, we understand, of course, that that's not always possible for everybody given travel and things like that. So during COVID, we actually ran two Chartres programs virtually, and those we have packaged so that they are also available for people. So if you can't, or for some strange reason wouldn't want to attend the in-person event, then we have the virtual options also available.
That sounds amazing. Gave me goosebumps. Thank you.
I'll put the link to it in the.
It really is amazing, and we have every year, apart from the pandemic years, like around over 100 people coming. So many alumni, even those are actually never been student of our school. They come back year by year because, as Peter mentioned, the course is based on the 7 liberal arts, which used to be taught in the first in the Parisian schools, I don't know how many, 500-600 years ago. And in the Napoleonic times, they actually transitioned to more away from the 7 liberal arts, more like science-based and so forth. So that was the new era coming in. So every year, this course theme is chosen, and it is really linked to what's going on in our lives now, whether it is to do with trauma or consciousness or cosmology or something. And so it is not really kind of like the old stuff that you would be kind of like suicidal about, like, oh, this is so boring, but it's really about what's going on in our lives. So really linking and bridging the old and the new, and how they are relevant to each other. And the course is really, as Peter mentioned, or other program starts right in the morning with there's a group that is dedicated for dream work. So all of who actually have any really strong, vivid dreams that can share with that group. And by the end of the week, that group puts it together and really have a coherent story that what is going on in the collective psyche, which is just so intriguing. And besides it, there is like embodiment courses like in dancing and lots of it. It is full on. It is really, really, really full on course. So it is just wonderful. It's unforgettable. It really is unforgettable. So try to come if you can.
That sounds like it. Sounds amazing. Thank you.
We get to sing in an empty cathedral one morning as well. Like you practice all week and then you go and stand there. And there's a particular place you stand and the acoustics. I don't know what it is, but I've never got through that without kind of tears streaming down my face, and then I can't sing anymore, But it is a powerful experience.
Yeah, let me also just chime in, because I got a chance to go right before COVID hit for the first time, and I went not really expecting anything. I didn't know what to expect, and it was really a very cool experience. A lot of the things that Georgie and Peter mentioned, but for me, there's this big ritual that we do. We walk the labyrinth inside the chapel, and it's a crazy powerful experience. I was in tears for some reason. Lots of people were laughing. It's just, it's really a very transformative experience through all the things you go through in that week. So just wanted to give my thumbs up.
I just want to make sure I get this question before I lose it in the stream. So Karen asks, do the costs that are per program cover the entire cost of the program, or are the supplemental costs based on elective courses? Yeah, that's a good question. So the costs that you see on the website for the MA, there are no further costs, basically, because there are no extra courses beyond the Creative Journey course. For the PhD or the combined MA PhD, what those costs cover is all of the academic credits that you get. And then there's a kind of course cost for each course. So say you go to take a course somewhere else, of course, you've got to pay that course provider for that course, and then you pay the academic credits on top. So at Ubiquity, we have a collection of our own courses. We also have a bunch of partner courses, and so you just pay the course cost. But that depends on what course you want to take. So we can't do a full-in bundle for that, because different people want to take different courses. And of course, if you go to Chartres, that costs a bit more than if you're just taking an online course. So so what's excluded from that are just the basic course cost. Yeah, and that's up to you to choose, which course you take. So obviously the online ones we have very affordable. If you want to go, on an in-person trip down to Peru or something, that might cost you a bit more. Sorry, Saga, you have your hand up.
Yes, I just have a very practical question, because you said that with the Creative Journey that it's very important to be there all 5 days. So do you know, and you also said you don't know the dates yet, but will there be like a startup within some time, and then another startup maybe once or twice a year? Do you know anything about this? And also what time zone will it be this time of the day? Because it's
yes, really definitely. Well, we already have the first course agreed, which will be April 17th to 21st, and 5 p.m. CET, which is that's 17, that's 11 ET, Eastern time.
Did we agree? Have we finalized that time as well?
Haven't we? Maybe not. So let's keep that timing. The date. Just take the date. I think that's why I said right at the beginning. It's probably Rogie and Peter and Danny's domain. But basically, we can adjust the time of the course to the best of the group, because that's always a possibility. because we know that many of you have work responsibilities and family responsibilities. So
yeah. Okay, so for the April dates coming up, do you think it at some stage would be possible to have dates further ahead announced? Because for me, I have bookings 2 years from now, and I can't move them around. So I also see that Erin posted a question saying, "Is it possible to do this with a full-time job as well?" But it's just if it was possible to see some dates a little bit further, maybe a year or a year and a half ahead, it would be easier for me anyway to plan, and maybe others as well.
Yeah, but we try to, Peter, sorry, we try to book for this year. We will have discussion, Roger and Peter, with Danny and Jenny, and then see what are the best from their point of view as well. So we will have possible dates for this year and for next year as well, clearly. But also we understand that people do work full time, but I think, once in a while, I think, this is important as well. If this is important, then you may need to, take some, maybe half a holiday or something for that, or somehow arrange it, because it will be impossible to find a time that is good for like 15 people plus the teachers as well, right? So, but that is, if there is a will, there's a way, and maybe we'll find that.
Yeah, I mean, what we might consider, and as Georgie says, we'll discuss with Danny, is we've got the one in April set up. That we might look at doing one in the fall that is at a different time zone, for example, that fits a different time zone. But I think what's important is for us, to gauge the levels of interest and how many people would actually want to participate in the April course. It's 17 to 21 of April. I'll put it in the chat again here. Yeah, there we go, 17 to 21 of April. And at the moment, it's easy for us to do it at 1700 CET. That's kind of for people on the European end, as it were. They finish their work day and things. For Californians, it may be before they actually start work, which might be a good thing. It might be challenging for kind of, East Coast, if their people still have full-time jobs. But to also, Saga, to say, I was working full-time when I did my PhD, and I just disciplined myself to take one morning a week. Like I always took a Friday morning, and that's where I did my reading and my writing, and in 7 years I was done. And I think for a lot of people, it's not about so much the certificate. It's about giving yourself the time and space to dive deeply into something that you really care about, and that's a value to yourself and the world. And I was like just not taking that time. And I thought, well, if I do a PhD, it'll force me to take that time, which is kind of crazy at one level, but it does. And you then have a community of other people who are in that discipline and in that rigor of, you can't just throw out any old idea. You have to back it up, which in this day and age, in terms of like, fake news and everything everyone else is claiming, is a really important thing to do. So like spend time on, well, this idea I have, can I really find evidence for this somewhere? Or is it, and that means that we come out with it. For me anyway, it meant I came out with it with like a theory, as it were, that I could really stand behind and that I knew I could back up and go and talk to the world about, which beforehand I thought it was more of an intuition, and then I wouldn't have felt until I'd actually researched it properly, wouldn't have felt really comfortable trying to share that with others.
I totally agree, and it's and for me, it's not the discipline or the time to actually do the work. It's more the 5 days to have them fit in with the other work. So it would be great whenever you have the time and dates. It would just be wonderful. Yeah,
I noticed some people are having to leave now. We are top of the hour. Just to say that it would be good if you are interested in the April event to sign up as soon as possible, because that gives us 6 weeks, which is generally what we say, to be able to process the documents, allow people, let people know if they can join the program, make sure that we have the faculty. We don't want to cancel it too late, for example, if the faculty can't make it and things. So so that would be good. And maybe, Danny, there's a way we can find out as soon as possible who would be interested, and therefore which time zone might be best for that group.
Oh, good point. And of course, if anyone has any questions, here's how to reach me.
Yeah. And earlier on, Nora put all of our email addresses in as well, so feel free to contact her. There is quite a lot on the landing page as well, with various links and things you can follow. But feel free to reach out to us, definitely, if you've got any questions.
This is terribly exciting. And my brain is going with, Sounds True being a publishing company and, eventually like a future of an inner MBA imprint for these beautiful things that are birthed by, graduates of the inner MBA and Ubiquity. I mean, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
It's time, Danny. It's time.
It's time. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Peter, Raji, Georgie. Thank you. Thanks,
everyone. Thanks for coming.
See you soon.